Well, hello to everybody and everyone. Um, this is yet another video to discuss about anything really that comes to my mind related to my country and culture. And more specifically, if I have a topic to pick today, um, it would certainly be to discuss about the education and school system in France, which is, to say a long story short, mitigate. It has good sides and it has a lot of bad sides, starting by the spiritual satisfaction that we have out of it. So, without further notice, let's go right into the topic. Um, the school in France is more or less mandatory for every kid, starting by the age of 6 until the age of 16 years old. But basically, uh, you're not supposed to leave the school at 16 years old unless you have a very, very difficult path of life, because the bachelor degree is at 18 years old, the same time that a teenager is considered, it's considered naturally to become an adult by the law. So the kind of system that we have is in France is a secular system. So in the public space, it means in the school as well, there is no religious teaching, and there is no even signs of any religions or beliefs. Uh, there is a lot of signs of atheism, but it's another topic. What you have to know is that we call it the Republican school. It is the public school for every children. Um, Consists of the elementary school, which takes place from 6 years old to 10 or 11 years old. And by all means, this is quite an easy step into the education system. It is very chill. Children are often quite happy about it because the homework is very tiny, the difficulty is very tiny, and you learn how to read, you learn how to do a number of mathematical operations, you learn whole history and about France and about many kind of things. And the good side of it, I may say, is that there isn't a lot of political involvement in the teaching of the kids at this age. It's quite, I wouldn't say it's neutral, but kids at this age have a lot of important things to learn. They feel they are learning very quickly with competent teachers generally, and it's very often that people between 6 and 10 years old are not unhappy about school, not too much. It's generally quite a happy part of life for French people. But the same is not true for what comes afterwards. In France, we call that le collège. It's not the same thing as the college in the USA or in England. The college in France, it is from 11 to 14 years old, and it becomes more broad, more generalist. You learn more mathematics, more French, you start learning languages, that is generally English, and German or Spanish, which is not very pertinent by today's standard, I would say, because many kids who choose to learn German have no use for it during their whole life, and the only other alternative is Spanish, which is arguably not very useful for many French people and for French society as a whole, because uh, we don't actually have a lot of commercial interactions with Spanish and Latin countries, contrary to English countries. And naturally, we learn English uh, near the age of 11, and we learn it in a such way uh, that is underdeveloped compared to most other countries. It's not that our teachers are worst, but we put less emphasis on learning English, and it might come to obvious as many people that French natives are not good at English in general, and for decades and decades they have never been good at English. Even I, which I believe I can speak a little bit decently at English, I still have a bad pronunciation, and I still have quite a lot of struggles to get my sentences out, which is, I would say, which is a flaw generally in French society. We struggle a lot finding people who are able to speak English at all. With all of that, we have the basics, that is geography, history, civil rights, a little bit. We have mathematics, we have, which is the core subject of school, I would say. If you're good at mathematics in general, it means you have a high IQ. It's not hard science, but it's quite verified all the way through education, and generally this is what is valued afterwards in higher studies. In college, Le Collège in France, we have also sports, which is, to be honest, quite ridiculous. It's not high intensity or anything, it's just to keep the kids busy. And we don't learn a lot of useful things in sports. And moreover, we have difficulties to even find sport teachers who are even fit, to be honest. What else do we have? We have French courses, and this is maybe the worst type of courses that we have at this age, because it's not fun, it's very boring, it's very grammatical focused, and basically it is yet so important and so badly put together for the kids to be interesting, because it is very important to learn well French, to write, express ourselves well, and to be able to just shape our mind, to organize our speech, and it's very, very important and very neglected, I would say. We submit impertinent books to the kids to read, like it is too high level or too old in a way, too unrelated with modern events and even what they feel in everyday life. So the kids have boring books to read. Even I, when I read the books for my little brother in the college, I can read it well, but because I am an adult, and I would totally understand why some of the things I have to do is completely not adequate for them. It's not as interesting, it's very clumsy, and it's generally a course that is overlooked, that children do not really like. Also, it is very important in society. Other things we have is technology course. So this one is fun. It is basically general knowledge about everything that is related to technology. So it is so wide that it cannot be very precise, cannot be very specialized, and it is basically just general culture about technology without ever going deeper than the surface. For example, when I was 12 years old or something like that, we had an electrical wired, not wired, I don't know how you say, like this toy you have, an automated car to buy, to build. And it was just like Legos. It was, you put this wire there and this wire there, and you assemble the wheels together, and there is no deeper skill. It just like a little game. You go from art drawing to elementary school to this kind of little technological courses to the college, which have little interest for the kids. They learn so wide topics that they do not stop really to learn something useful will that they will remember at all. And and that's about it for the technology course. It's basically like to spend time and to keep them busy as well. It's not very significant. During this age, like I said, they have history and geography. It is actually just one in the same course, and it is where I would say the ideological propaganda starts for the kid, because they choose history topics based on the the ministerial request, and the ministerial for education in France is basically having ideological bias. So this is where really the propaganda starts kicking in, and the kid are oriented towards thinking this is evil, this is good, and this is evil because I tell you this is, and this is good because I tell you this is, and you have to learn tolerance and this and that, and it's basically a denial of true reasoning. It is just virtue signaling and so on. So history is very good, very interesting, but it's mixed with little political influences like that. And I say that it may sound exaggerated, but this is very true, because the ideological nature of the Republican school in France is actually something very influent. It is shaping the whole population to be in a way, and not in an other way. We say we are a country of freedom, but we are not really in anything like that. It is more like an advertisement for France. But the truth is, we have little freedom of speech and even little freedom of thinking, and all of this is started by school, because this is the way my country is stable, through this kind of ideological unity. And so afterwards there is high school, and high school is where things really get very intense politically wise, because it's when we start to hear the hedonist, the freedom liberalist speech that is very strong. Kids are not kids anymore. They start to be teenagers. They are interested about sex, and we say to them, yes, it's very good to be interested about sex. You can have sex with anyone, and you just need condoms, and you just need to make sure there is consent and everything, which is normal. But basically, we encourage behaviors from the school system that is not exactly what you would expect from a traditional country. We are much more liberal in that sense, morally liberal, not economically. And this is something that you can absolutely see in French high school, where the kids who are not kids anymore start to build political opinions, not reasoning, just opinions. They start to become militant, and the teachers as well hesitate less to have political speeches, even though they don't assume it in public necessarily. And I remember high school as a place of great boredom and great tiredness, and this is because, contrary to some other countries, we have very heavy schedules, I would say. It depends, but you wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. and you can go back at home at 6 or 7 p.m. And basically you go back at home, but you have not finished. You have homeworks that you have to do every day, and sometimes the homework is relatively complicated. It depends if you follow well in class or not, but if you're in a state of boredom or even depression, It's easy to get overwhelmed by high school, French high school, which is not very hard, but it is hard enough to start feeling like a burden. You don't really have time for yourself, which some may argue it's good because a teenager is supposed to study, but really what school is from elementary to high school, it's just a kindergarten for adults to be able to work without having to keep them. It's basically the main function of school in France, to be honest. Um, by a general consensus, it's not only my opinion that I share, it is well known that in France, um, we spend a lot of time to learn things that we are supposed to forget right away, just for the test. We call that bachoter. It's a French word. It means uh, you you study intensely for a very short amount of time, and you forget everything right away almost as soon as the test is behind you. And this is basically the school system at one point. You learn and you spend enormous amount of time to learn things that are not preparing you for life or anything. It doesn't give you values, it doesn't give you clues about what is the strengths, the balance of strengths in society, how you should have a strategical mind to make your place in society, which is very important. You don't even understand well the institutions of your own country. And basically, it's well possible that an 18 years old teenager, he has his bachelor degree now, and he's leaving high school to go to university perhaps. He's now legally an adult, but it's absolutely possible, and it's what is the most frequent today, that this 18 years old boy is actually completely lost in life, and he doesn't have a clue about anything, and he only wants to play video games. And even though he has a bachelor degree, he doesn't know how to do anything, and he doesn't understand anything either about the rest of society. So this is maybe the biggest failure of school, is that we do not build adults at all, and we do not even build uh, strong teenagers or anything. We just make them validate this skill, and this skill, which are arbitrary and which are forgotten anyway in a matter of a few weeks, and they come as adults in society, and basically they are lost if they don't have good parents. Um, and not everyone has the chance to have good parents. We all know that. So that's about it for school as a whole. There is a lot more to say, uh, but as I'm not used to it again, this is something I would like to answer more in questions or in later videos, because I see now the time is running by and it's almost 20 minutes, and I'm not having a very well organized like line of thought when I speak. So I will keep it short and I will stop it there, and I will maybe speak about school a little bit more later in a more organized way again. So I say to you, see you. Thank you for listening. If you did listen so far, which I doubt you did, and well, bye bye. Have a good day.